More applications for the telesales job?
No, these were delivered to my home. I got so much mail this morning, I had to bring it in.
That is personal mail?
Yeah, and most of it's too personal. Don't touch. They're dynamite.
What on earth are they? Oh, Susan, you haven't done what I think. All this from a Lonely Hearts ad? What on earth did you say about yourself? Smouldering beauty looking for passion.
By the description, you'd have thought I was a nun.
Must be a lot of lonely guys out there. You know what I mean. Besides, a lot of people use Lonely Hearts columns these days. I even heard Mike reads them now his divorce has come through.
Oh, my God. You don't think he's one of these, do you?
Well, how can you tell? I mean, how much does a letter give away about someone's real character? In my experience, all men lie when it comes to relationships.
What's the point of lying in these letters? I'm bound to find out what they're really like one of these days.
Most of them don't even know they're lying. For instance, what does that guy say?
Blah, blah, blah. I'm bored with most of the women I meet.
There you are. When someone says they're bored, read boring. I'm boring with most of the women I meet. It's like a kind of code.
This one says he is in the process of separation from his wife. He needs someone discreet to make him whole again.
Ah, discreet. Very common code.
What does it mean?
It means he's not as separated as he would like you to think. He's probably about to become a father. My guess is twins.
God, you think so? Oh, I give up. There's just no way of telling from this lot. Perhaps I should go for video dating.
Video dating?
It's where you can look at potential mates on screen before you meet them. As they say, the camera never lies.
Perhaps you should date one of those instead.
Fiona Campbell is a headhunter. She works for the London-based recruitment consultancy Alderwick Peachell. In a city of millions, it's her job to find you that one in a million.
Managers quite often come to headhunters to find staff because in the 90s you see an employment market that is much more highly specialised at a much more junior level than it ever has been before. Headhunting is invariably chosen because it is the most direct or proactive approach to the marketplace you're looking to exploit. If you're looking in a specialised area and say there's only a population of 30 people that could do the job in the whole of the UK, you want to know that you have had access to all 30 of those people.
Fiona Campbell has come to a client briefing in the legal department of Lehman's, an investment bank in the city.
Hi, Fiona.
John, hi. Once the client has decided that they wish to recruit somebody, invariably most organisations and most of the organisations that I'm dealing with are major multinationals. They're very good at putting together job descriptions. So, John, what are we looking to recruit?
I really need someone who's got some knowledge of international tax systems, and most importantly, as you will know from previous exercises, we need someone who fits into the Lehman sort of mentality, someone who's going to get on with the business people rather than sort of annoy them by being almost too intellectual.
And why has this position arisen?
It is a new position. It's aimed to strengthen the fixed income legal team.
Who's this position going to report to?
It's
If the exercise is going to be successful, you must have an understanding. Okay, you're sitting opposite the individual's direct manager, so you're able to paint a picture of that individual, but who else is there in the department? What are they like? What are their personalities like?
After the briefing, Fiona's job is to find the right person with the right skills. But she also has to find someone who can fit in with the company's culture and can work alongside the trading team.
The manager probably mentions through the meeting that, you know, this is a close-knit team. We need someone who's going to be a good team player. Now, how as an external body can you go out and find a good team player for that team if nobody has painted a picture of quite what that team constitutes. But the more tools that you can use, like psychometric tests, like assessment days where you may put them through role plays and put them through all sorts of situations and see how they cope, you're increasing that percentage, and your ideal is to increase it to as close to 100% as possible. The risk never disappears, because even when you've increased it to 100%, you as the line manager have to then make a decision, and no one's going to make that decision for you.
What's that you're watching?
Oh, a film about headhunters. I wanted to check it out before the interviews for the new marketing director this afternoon, see if I could pick up a few tips.
Well, here's the profiles. Good luck.
Come in.
I'm sorry, I thought this was David Anderson's office. His secretary told me to come in.
She's my secretary now. David left us on Friday.
Left? Well, left Softex, you mean?
What is the phrase? He's gonna spend more time with his family.
Well, David's been divorced for years.
It's only a phrase. I'm Matt Davis. I've taken over David's responsibilities as of this morning.
Mike Fox, sales director at Redware.
I know. You're a part of John Wood's team, aren't you? What can I do for you, Mike?
Well, I used to meet David down at the golf club, and, well, he said to drop in if ever I needed any help.
Well, you're here. So what's bugging you, Mike?
Do you know John Wood?
Certainly. We meet from time to time at senior management meetings. I don't know him that well. Well, not like David. Apparently they go back a long way.
So I understand.
Well, what about him?
It's a bit delicate.
You're not getting on.
I'm having a bit of trouble managing upward, so to speak.
John is an acquired taste, but he's been very successful at managing teams in the past.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure you're right. Are you his new boss?
In a way, I suppose I am. John's a maverick. He floats around the corporation. But normally, in the new structure, yeah, he does report to me.
I see.
So, what's your problem with him?
He wants to create a new post, marketing director. Now, I just think he's taking this step without thinking it through completely. The final interviews are this afternoon.
Who's been doing those tasks up till now?
I have. But I don't have a problem with a new person coming in.
No?
No. It's just with John's background in human resources, well, I wonder if he's going to select the most appropriate candidate for the job.
John is a touchy-feely kind of guy.
Well, my point exactly. Now, this management development course, well, it's all very well, but I think it's essential that he chooses someone sympathetic to the sales function.
Well, I'll talk to John about the appointment. I'll express your worries to him.
Thanks, Matt. I'd prefer it if you didn't mention our little talk, though. I'd hate for him to think that I've been going behind his back.
Of course not.
I appreciate your help.
Think nothing of it.
Do you play golf?
With my schedule? Still, I'm sure David will be glad for a game. Now he's got a lot more time on his hands.
Anyway, I better be off. Things to do.
Good to meet you, Mike. I'm sure Redware will get the new marketing director he deserves. Drop by any time. Just call my secretary.
Thanks for the offer. I will.
Bye now.
Tell you what, have you tried telephone dating?
Telephone dating?
Yeah, you phone up this number and they play you tapes of lots of different men. You then choose one for a date.
So I could tell if they're lying from their voice.
Well, it should give you more of an idea than a letter. It's completely kosher. Apparently, companies use the technique these days for hiring staff. There's a case study all about it in the training course.
You mean they call people up and interview them over the phone?
Hello, Peter. This is Ian King, Personnel Manager at Legoland Windsor. We we have a number of vacancies at the moment. The first step in our selection process is to go through a short telephone interview with candidates. The questions are very straightforward, though, so there's nothing for you to worry about.
At the beginning of 1996, Legoland's new theme park in Windsor had run into a bit of a problem. They were looking for 600 energetic seasonal staff. They had to sift these 600 people from more than 5,000 applications. So 12 of their staff were trained to use telephone selection, led by Ian King.
Logistically, of course, it's very difficult to bring that number of people to the park in a short space of time, and we were working on really quite tight time frames. Within this industry, the leisure industry and the theme park industry, it isn't unusual, however, to seek to fill that number of positions through a relatively small number of open days, where a large proportion, thousands of candidates, would come in a short space of time and be interviewed in groups. We felt that in trying to identify staff with the particular qualities that we sought, that we needed to take a more rigorous process than 5 or 10 minute interviews in groups of 3 or 4 could possibly provide us with. The first question is, can you very briefly tell me about your previous work experiences? Tell me about the jobs that you've held.
I've worked in 2 sports sectors in the local area. My title was recreation assistant, but basically I did any jobs that needed to be done in the sports centre, and I run the children's parties.
The telephone interview was put together by the survey organisation Gallup, not just for use here at Legoland, but for the leisure industry in general.
It's been developed progressively over about 30 years, actually, but more recently we've studied the qualities in successful customer contact staff in the hospitality industry. And we've been looking at the very highly rated employees, rated by their colleagues, rated by customers, and we've been able to identify certain qualities. In this case, about 8 qualities in particular. We have other interviews, but there are about 8 qualities which make a real difference to customers in this sort of business.
When did you have your very first responsible job, Peter?
Responsible? When I was about 16, 17 was when I started working at the sports centre and looking after the kids. Yeah, about 17.
Good.
I think you can role play basically a lot of these interviews. You can say yes, I have experience, but if someone says, working with children, how do you feel about working with children? People might say, well, I'm quite happy working with children. We're a bit more specific than that. We'll ask a very specific question. And people who have a real yearning to work with children successfully, responsibly, and in a sustained basis over 10 hours, will answer that question very, very differently to someone who doesn't have that affinity.
It does allow the interviewer to be able to get an insight into your personality as you are feeling more relaxed and you're not too stressed out because you're not, it's not the big occasion. You're in your own home, you're in your own surroundings, and it's quite relaxing in comparison to a normal interview.
And how do you feel when your fellow workers bitch all the time?
It can be very annoying. It can get on my nerves if people do that.
This particular interview wouldn't be appropriate for management positions, for example. But the technique, with properly researched questions, could be, I believe, equally well applied to management disciplines.
It's the first year of operation for Legoland, so too early to say perhaps how successful telephone selection has been. But one thing is clear. Staffing has been much more successful where it has been used than where it hasn't, in areas such as catering.
We found that in that group of personnel, we've suffered much higher levels of labour turnover than with those staff who were recruited using a more rigorous process. So if that's a measure, and I think one can consider that to be a measure of success, then it certainly suggests that our technique was worthwhile. We'd like you to attend interview here next Monday, so I look forward to seeing you then. And thanks again for your time this morning. Goodbye for now.
Yeah, the headhunters have put forward 3 good candidates. Now, Mike will be on the final interview board alongside myself, Jenny, and Lee.
4 of you? What if it's a split decision?
I hope we can be unanimous.
But if you're not? I don't have to remind you it was the chairman's casting vote that got me this job.
Sure, the board made the right decision, Matt.
Even though I didn't get your vote.
It's water under the bridge.
Indeed. Well, if it is a split decision, this time I'll cast the deciding vote.
Well, thanks for the offer, but I'm sure we can be unanimous.
I hope you're right. It's important we choose the right guy. Looking at your figures, Redware's run out of time.
Well, I'll tell you what, Matt. If it is a split decision, I will bring you in, and your vote can decide.
Okay, John. But remember, we need to pick a winner.
All right, 2 down, 1 to go.
Well, I liked him. I thought he was very good.
Peter Lambert. Yep, I thought so too. Much better than the first.
Well, we still have 1 to see.
I thought he was a bit of a wimp. You see the way he was dressed, and I cannot stand beards.
He had some interesting ideas, and he's mad keen to get into our industry. And he's prepared to stay on the same salary.
Obviously lacks ambition. Didn't even know what company car he wanted.
Oh, don't even talk to me about company cars. You wasted half the interview on that subject.
I just think it's a good way of getting to know about the man. I mean, do you know he didn't know the first thing about performance cars? He cycles to work, for heaven's sake.
Well, can we please get back to the subject in hand? Yeah? Well, this is probably the most important decision we will make as a team. Now, we still have Harry Howell to see.
Well, I like Peter Lambert.
Yeah, he seemed to know his stuff.
All right, on to the last one. See what the headhunters say. Harry is a highly intelligent and exceptional candidate, an American by birth. He's been working over here since 1980.
Seems a bit of a whiz kid. His scores in the psychometric tests for intellectual aptitude and ability are almost off the scale.
He's an individualist, a leader rather than a team player.
Strong character, knows his own mind. I like that.
Yeah, Jackie, will you send Mr. Howell in, please? Thank you.
He certainly looks good on paper.
Yes, almost too good to be true. Oh, and Mike, this time, do you think we could manage to stay off the subject of cars?
Mr. Howell, good afternoon. Take a seat, please. I'm John Wood, MD. This is Mike Fox, Sales Director.
Mike.
Jenny Carroll, General Manager. Lee Shindo, Software Production Director.
Lee.
Now, this interview is totally confidential, as is the information gathered by the headhunters for your report. Now, we'd like to begin by asking you 1 or 2 questions.
Fine, please fire away.
Now, your CV shows that you've moved around a lot in your career. 4 different companies in, less than 8 years?
I guess on the surface it may appear that I don't stick at jobs, but the reality is very different. Well, as you know better than I, our business is extremely fast-paced, and 2 years in a company is really quite a long time. I've always known instinctively the right moment for me to move on. It's always been a natural progression for me.
Would you like to tell us about your last job?
Yeah, sure. I started on the personal call side when they fired the brand manager. A lovely guy, but not up to the task. That was about 18 months ago. Working with my colleagues, we did a complete rebranding exercise and focused on a market niche where the competition wasn't too hot. We pushed up market share 15 points.
Very impressive.
Why are you leaving?
I suppose you could say I'm looking for a fresh challenge, and you seem an interesting one. Interesting? Well, I read about your spot of legal trouble with HTP. Your new product, the AS400, it could be a winner in the right hands and with a new name. And now that you are owned by Softex, I figure you have the budgets to push it out in a big way.
If you were a marketing director, what would be your strategy for the launch of the AS400?
Well, as I say, a new name for the product, a new logo, new positioning. In fact, I would humbly suggest that the Redware brand needs a complete overhaul. Your software is okay, but your hardware proposition perhaps could be looked at.
It's a disaster. I've been saying as much for months.
Well, I think I could help you. Working together, I'm sure we could fix that.
Do you see yourself as a team player?
Of course. Teamwork is the key to improved productivity and a better working environment.
What about when the chips are down? You had a real crisis on your hands.
Mike, I also believe in firm leadership. Sometimes hard decisions have to be made, and it is management's job to show the way ahead.
You said earlier that you enjoyed fresh challenges. What would your greatest challenge here be?
My greatest challenge will be to fit in with the rest of you and to complement your existing strengths. I am very, very ambitious for Red Ware.
Your report has you down as a strong individualist. How do you square that with being a team player?
Dr. Wood, I have a great deal of respect for the firm you hired to fill this appointment. Their reputation is second to none. However, these psychometric tests are not infallible. I suppose I scored high as an individualist because I respect that in others.
I see.
However, my real desire is to see the teams in which I work thrive. The ego of the individual manager must be channeled towards the good of the organization as a whole.
All right. Do you have any questions for us?
Yes. I understand that your appointment as MD is temporary.
That's correct, yeah. One of the management team here will be replacing me over the next couple of months.
I see. It must be an enthralling prospect for each of you.
It's exercised our minds a bit.
No doubt. Well, whoever wins the top job, I'm sure I'll enjoy reporting to them.
Mind you, the problem with telephone dating is they can still lie. I mean, you can't see their eyes. It's always the eyes that tell you if someone's lying.
There's a website on the internet where you can download potential mates.
Hey, that's a great idea. I'll ask Lee. I bet he's on one.
Yeah. They give you all the information about the other person, and then you can talk to them online. I've read that some people have torrid love affairs in cyberspace without ever meeting each other in person.
Okay, I'll give it a bash. As long as this internet dating is not all virtual reality, there comes a point when you can only really judge someone in the flesh.
Susan?
Okay, it's make your mind up time.
Well, it's pretty clear the last guy's the one to go for.
Well, Harry Howell.
Slow down. We can't just jump to a decision. How does Harry stack up to the job criteria?
Well, he's certainly got the experience.
Yeah, but could you believe a word he said? 1 second he's all for teamwork, the next he's into autocratic leadership. Look, we were too easy on him, too many closed questions. He told us what we wanted to hear.
Oh, the man was being interviewed, for heaven's sake. If you ask me, he's got exactly the right attitude for us. I liked his energy. It reminded me of what I was like 5 years ago.
I think he'd fit into the team. The other two were coming from different cultures.
We don't need another software expert, Lee. We need a marketing professional.
Harry Howell has a good marketing background. Oh, don't tell me. You like the guy from the cat food company.
Oh, Peter Lambert?
That's him. The wimp.
Mike, you're trying to clone yourself. You like Harry because he reminds you of you.
And Peter Lambert reminds me of you. And quite frankly, one of you in the team is more than enough.
Oh, come on. This is getting us nowhere.
Oh, so it's down to a show of hands. I know I'm going to be outvoted on this one.
Why don't we go through them one at a time? You know, hands up those in favor of Terry Smith. Hands up those in favor of Peter Lambert. Hands up those in favor of Harry Howell.
Split decision. So what happens now?
Well, it's disappointing. I did think that as a team we'd be able to agree unanimously. No? Ah, pity. I'll just have to get him back for another interview. This time we'll have to call in Matt Davis, give the casting vote.